Welcome to another episode of Couples Academy Live. Today is relationship Q&A. Get your questions and join us now.
Thank God it's Friday. We've made it another week. Every single Friday, I look forward to it because we get to be loose, we get to be free, we get to be casual as we engage with listeners and viewers all over the world. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning. And we get to answer all of your tough questions. We spend most of the week teaching lessons and giving you tips so that you could do well throughout the week and get through some of your hurdles. But today, we want to hear from you. We want you to ask what it is that you really want to know. Those deep down burning questions, those issues that cannot be resolved, that you've been ruminating on. This is the day. Get those questions answered. So Hassani, I know you have a couple of questions already that you could kick the show off with. What you got?
Well, first of all, I'm here in a hotel lobby. So if you hear any background noise, I'm here because we're doing a 3-day intensive with a couple that flew in from Arizona, and we're excited to be able to help them. They're getting tremendous help. So if that's you, if you're looking for some assistance in your relationship, make sure you call couplesacademy.org, go to the website and see how we can help you. But let's dive into these questions. We have quite a few, but as we are discussing these questions, feel free to drop yours in. Question number 1. Should you go by your partner's body language to sense what's going on, or should you have dialogue? This is a communication question, right? I think is a great question because we've talked about before the 3 components of effective communication: your words, which are 7%, your tonality, which is 23%, and your body language, which is 70% of how you communicate. The problem is oftentimes we don't know how we're coming across with our body language, whether our arms are folded, whether our face is like this, whether we're rolling. Everything communicates, and your body can be communicating the wrong message that's not true to how you feel on the inside. So if people are interpreting what you look like and how you carry yourself, then they could be missing something, and that will cause a breakdown of effective communication.
Yeah. And to add to that, you really can't help but to read your partner's body language. So you are reading. We're reading all day long. We're sensing all day long. We're looking at each other, especially when we have a tough conversation or there was a tough night the night before. The next morning, we're sensing, we're looking. Sometimes we don't know what to say or if we should say. So we, as Hassani said, we are always communicating with our body, whether we intend to or not. So to be able to pull your spouse to the side and say, hey, I don't want to, make any assumptions. So can we talk about what I'm experiencing? And being able to do that without your spouse getting pissed off at you and flying off the handle, that is key.
Yes, awesome. So let's say good morning to those who have tuned in. Calvin, good morning. Good to see you. ARSC24.
Hey,
I need you to change your name. I can't. That's too long. I need you to tell me what your name is. Latasha, good morning. Renard.
Yeah, if she tells us her name, we're going to try to remember.
Yes. Robert, good morning and paying attention. Glad you're doing that. Carlissa has a question. How frequent does miscommunication occur due to context? I think miscommunication occurs all the time. I think that's the number one biggest issues that couples have. We know that there are the top 5: communication, sex, money, in-laws, and parenting. But communication is at the top of the list, and it requires that we really take the time to unpack the meaning, the messaging, the heart of what we're saying, putting things, to your point, in proper context, because the right message outside of the right message in the wrong context can produce the wrong deliverable. So I think it's critically important that you learn how to have proper context.
I agree.
Yolanda says body language speaks. It absolutely does speak.
Face language. even face
Yes,
language. I mean, think about just frowns and grim looks and looking sad. Sometimes Hassani, you would be saying to me, "What's wrong?" You always know when something's wrong. I can't even hide it. I try.
you can't.
And I'm like saying nothing, and you're like, it's written all over your face. So our face, our body, it communicates 100% all the time.
There was a song, it's written all over your face. You remember that?
You into
You
singing
don't
these
have
days.
to say a word. I can't sing, but it was a great song. Her name is Angel. Good morning, Angel. Good to see
Okay,
you. We will call
Angel.
you that from now on. Here's a
Yeah.
great question, Danielle. Me and my wife just got back together and a week went by, and she tells me it is not working for her. And I guess is should I just give up after 3 years of separation? I would absolutely say no. The question is, have you gone to counseling? Have you done an intensive? Have you read a book? Have you gone to a seminar? Have you engaged in a community of support that can help and aid you in your process? What have you done? Most people have done nothing. They've relied on their own means, their own intellect. And the reality is, even with the best of intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And you don't have to have a negative experience in your marriage if you pivot and get the support that you need. Danielle?
I love it. I can't add to that. Perfect.
Another question just came in. How to make her still feel appreciated during pregnancy? Okay,
Hmm.
so she's pregnant. How do we make her feel good? How should he
Yeah. I mean,
accommodate her during pregnancy?
that's almost like a loaded question, right? Because she's the only one that has the answers to that, right? You know, when we're pregnant, we are volatile, we could be moody, we can be physically uncomfortable, emotionally uncomfortable. There's a lot going on in many women when we're pregnant. So you got to sit down with her and see what it is that she needs. What is she, has she been saying? Is she saying that you don't meet my needs or you don't make me? If she's saying those things to you, then you need to go a little deeper and find, okay, what is it that you need me to do and do your best to accommodate.
Excellent, excellent point. Here's another one. Wow. Wiley says, after cheating on my girlfriend, she blocked me on all social media and took down my pictures. She said she can't see me anymore. It's been 31 long days since I haven't contacted her, and I've been making significant changes and have reflected. Should I reach out to her? The last text message I sent her was I regretted my decisions. I love her, and if she ever decided to rekindle with me, to reach out. I'm not sure that this was the proper message to her. Should I give it more time and reach out? And it just continues. Daniel, how do you weigh in on that?
You know, I think there's a couple things that he said that I thought was really good. The fact that he's working on himself and he was, you know, he was thinking about what he did and he regrets it, and giving her the space that she needs. I like to give this analogy of, you know, if you're remodeling your kitchen, right? You tear down all the walls, you tear up the floor, you tear the counter down, and you know what it's going to look like eventually. It's going to be this a magnificent place. You've got the whole vision written out, but you don't really want anybody to see you or see your kitchen while it's looking tore up, right? You wouldn't invite people over and say, hey, my kitchen's in demolition, I'm going to get a remodel, but look at it now and have a seat here, and one day the counter's going to be here and one day stools are going to be there. You don't do that. You wait until your kitchen is completely rebuilt so that you actually have some place to invite people to sit down where it's comfortable. So with that same analogy, you got to apply that to yourself. You know, if you're doing this on your own, you might think that you have changed and you still might be having some of the same issues and habits. That's number one. You need to get under some good counseling and support to make sure that you're doing all that you need to do and when you should do it. And then also, I like the idea of reaching out to her and giving her the option, because you were the offender, you cheated on her, and she said, I can't handle this anymore. So give her the space that she needs and work on you. And what usually happens is when we work on ourselves, people start to notice that difference.
Mhm.
They see that brand new kitchen, and you won't have to beg or pull or plead. People will begin to attract themselves to you.
I think that's a brilliant, brilliant answer. But let me just add to that. A lot of times when people say they're working on themselves, there's no clarity, there's no specificity, there's no program, there's no anything. It's just some statement. I'm working on myself. So just because you read a scripture in the Bible and say a prayer every now and then doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing the work. What are you doing to work on yourself? You know, we talk about in one of our videos online, you will cheat again unless, and it talks about the 6 things that you you need to do to keep from cheating again. One of them is getting counseling. So, are you getting individual counseling for your particular issues that led to the affair in the first place? See, we may know the what of the affair, but we may struggle to know the why of the affair. And if you don't know the why, then it increases the possibility of it happening again because you haven't gotten to the root issue. Are you committed to a personal growth and self development? Are you going through spiritual transformation? Are you going through an emotional healing? Are you a part of a support group that can keep you accountable to your actions and your behaviors? If you're doing it on your own, then you're not doing what is necessary, because at the end of the day, what you did was a violation. She doesn't trust you. So why would she trust that your own individual efforts will get you to the place where you need to be? So when you become submitted to God and submitted to a system that you're not in control of, that's when she can begin to believe, okay, maybe there's something different here. There's something new here. So that's what I would encourage you to do. There's a phenomenal book called Triggers, and it talks about how change is incredibly hard to do and the process that you need to go through to get that done. So I hope that answered your question. That leads to this question by Terrence. Good morning, Terrence. So good to see you. It's been a minute. 1 year later, how do we deal with the triggers? The
Mm.
triggers. I'll start off, and Danielle, you could tag team. But what I would say is that first you have to go through couples counseling, which you have, but then whoever is dealing with the trigger, it would also be good for them to get their own individual help as well. You know, we talk about, we have a course called Overcoming Emotional Triggers, and how to untrigger yourself, how
Yeah.
to untrigger your environment, how to untrigger your spouse. But then there's the daily work, and it's not how you show up when you're reacting to the trigger. Okay, so when the trigger happens, this is what I need to do. It's how proactive you are. How are you starting your day? Are you engaged in meditation? Are you engaged in prayer? Are you engaged in retraining your brain and going through a number of techniques that we offer to really set a healthy foundation on the inside of you? So, you know, whether it's quantum leap growth or incrementally, you're getting better day by day by day.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing I would add to that is that it really depends on how you're being triggered, right? For some of us, when we're triggered, it is literally like intrusive thoughts that are taking us over, and we can't control those thoughts, and they're coming out of nowhere. For others, we have this hyper arousal. We're looking for trouble that isn't even there. So, we're on the hunt in a protective manner to keep ourselves from being caught off guard. We're going to try to find the problem ahead of time. And then there are others that completely suppress it. And there's a numbing process that goes on. So you kind of just can't feel anything. And
Mhm.
depending on where you are determines the process that you need to go through to get the healing in that space. The trick is that oftentimes when you get healed in one space, like if you were numbing, and constricting is really the term, once you get healed and you begin to release, because you've been suppressing all of these feelings so that you can deal with life, then you move into these intrusive thoughts that are taking you over. And so then you've got to process through that and heal through that. You see, so you go through these phases of healing. So to Hassani's point, get into some good counseling so that somebody can work you through that process.
Excellent. Joshua has a great question. As a younger couple, we've been through a lot, but we are trying to get our mom and dad to open up to advice we get from you guys. How can we get them to be open to get input from us being younger and less experienced? That's a hard mountain to climb, because number one, they're your parents. So positionally, they see themselves as higher, if you will, positionally. So it's kind of hard to learn from your children and get advice from your children. It's just a challenging thing. Now, some people are open, right? But what I would do, rather than it being you giving them the advice, refer them to Couples Academy. So let them see the Couples Academy live that we do every day. Send them to the website and say, hey, mom and dad, this is what has worked for us. This may be a great resource for you. So it's not like the source of information, inspiration, and wisdom is coming from their child, but it's coming through something that their child recommended, which will show a level of loving care and support.
Literally, I was going to say that exact thing, that, it's difficult, challenging, and maybe even impossible for some parents to receive relationship advice or any advice in many regards
Yeah.
from our children. So that to me is a great pivot to suggest that they, show them some options, and maybe not just one option because they may not be able to receive it. This could be your favorite. Show them a couple other options. The key is here is that you want to get them the help that they need.
There it is. Another great question. These are great questions. Edmund says, do you offer remote sessions? I'm in Trinidad in the Caribbean. The short answer to that is yes. We have clients all over the world. Just got off the phone today with somebody in Kuwait. We have clients in Australia, every single continent but Antarctica. So yes, feel free to go. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, the website couplesacademy.org is there, plus the direct number 678-200-8996. So feel free to reach out to see how we can assist you. All right. When will you offer that class again, the triggers class? Well, we probably will not offer the class again, but you can purchase that class. We have it available for those who want to purchase. So if you'll just reach out to us at couplesacademy.org, or just call the number at the bottom, or text the number. Don't call, text right now. I'm the one who wants the triggers class. We can make that available for you. Here's another great question. How should a person handle dealing with a partner that gives mixed messages? They may act one way in front of some friends, some family, and then completely opposite around the bad influences of family that doesn't approve of you as the partner. Some people never want to give up or walk away, and waiting and hoping for this season to end.
Well, I mean, that's such a complex question. That question causes me to ask questions, but it makes me think about different personality styles and how, for some people, they show up as different personalities depending on who they're around. I'm not sure how to respond to some people don't want to wait. The question went away really quickly. But I mean, this is another communication issue, isn't it? I mean, when you think about it, the fact that when they show up around your friends and family, maybe they're treating you badly. Is that what's happening? And so that's something that you need to just address up front. Hassani, maybe you need to jump on this question because I didn't even hear the whole thing before it went down.
Yeah, basically, this is an individual who is giving mixed messages. He's one way with family, and then
Right.
another way with her or with other parts of the family. So I guess he's like a chameleon, as they say, different strokes for different folks,
And
but
there's a
different
reason.
ways on different days.
Yeah. There's a reason for this. Depending, and this is why we like everybody to get their Enneagram personality type done. You should know who you are, and you should know who your spouse is, because it answers so many questions. There were so many things that Hassani did just being himself that I thought he was doing to me or in spite of me. And I learned that it had nothing to do with me, right? These are things that both I had to work out with my personality style and he had to work out with his, because we all have a growth path, right? So there could be something with his personality that hinders him from just being his authentic self, no matter who's around. It can have everything to do with that and absolutely nothing to do with you.
Very good point. A next question from Lindsay. We are working on the why of the affair. Unfortunately, husband does not accept or believe the words that I try to use to explain myself. How do I find the words to prove my love and guilt and regrets? That's the why is probably the most important thing. And I will tell you that as we work with couples and as we work with them in our programs, people are yet discovering the why. You could know your why on a surface level, but think about an iceberg. An iceberg has the smallest portion above the sea line and the largest portion underneath the sea line. And so therefore you may have a level of understanding as to what that why is, but when you're working with someone who can help you connect the dots and help take you 5 layers deeper into the why, I think it would be helpful for you, because as we said before, when you understand your real why, it keeps you're able to properly diagnose and then come up with the right methodology and plan to overcome the challenges that led to the affair in the first place. And then when you can effectively communicate it to your partner, then it makes sense. Now, what you said was, how do I find the words to prove my love and to show my guilt and regret? That's different than the why. Okay, that's different than the why. Because you can have regret and show your guilt and still not know your why. So I look at those as two separate issues. But what I would say, and I don't know your personality and I don't know the dynamic between you and your husband, but there are some people who are very dismissive. There are some people who are very matter of fact. They're very blunt. with their truth. We talk about responsible honesty, not raw honesty. I mean, you want to be honest, but it's the way in which you deliver it. Are you giving him heart, feelings and emotions, or just facts and words? A lot of that has a lot to do with that. Are you loving him? Are you accommodating? Are you checking in on him? Are you bringing up the topic of the affair, or the only time you address it is when he brings it up? Are you only answering questions when he has a question for you, or are you engaging him in an authentic conversation? These are the things that we would need to get into the weeds of to determine how you're coming across. And this is something that, whether you're a male or female, if you're the betrayer in the relationship, you have to really overcompensate because they're feeling some type of way. Their emotions have been crushed. Their self-esteem has been impacted. They begin to question their own value. So many things are going on internally, and the pain that they feel internally is at 1,000 in comparison to what they articulate. So if they're articulating their pain to you every day, trust and believe they're feeling that pain 10 times as much as what they're articulating. So it requires ongoing conversation and accommodation to that spouse to help them heal. Danielle.
Absolutely. And that spouse, even though you could be actually being very much regretful and sincere in everything that you're doing and saying, you could be doing all that you can. And if they're stuck in a place of hurt and pain and they just can't get past it, your why doesn't make sense to them, they don't understand it. That's where you need some guidance and some support to help translate what it is that you're saying. Because to Hassani's point, if you don't know the complete and total why, because it is literally a process of discovery, there could just be pieces that are missing for your spouse. Like it just doesn't make sense because you haven't completely, fully understood it yourself. Once you completely understand it yourself, you can actually flow with so much transparency and honesty and openness because there's nothing left undealt with. There's nothing left on the table that hasn't been dealt with.
Excellent point. Next question, Renard. How do I get my fiance to tune into these videos with me without making her feel uh, as if I'm throwing her shade? I love my fiance with all my heart, and I want her to see this as a preventative maintenance. I feel we could be a lot closer in touch with each other, but I find it difficult to communicate my feelings when I'm met with the firm resistance. I also have some work as a man, but how do I find the rope to pull her closer to me? That's a very good question. So, when Danielle and I first got into our relationship in the very beginning, we read books, we watched videos, we went to seminars, and the position wasn't let me teach you or let you teach me. I said, why don't we learn together? Like even when it came to our denominational affiliations, we came from different denominations within churches. So we had our own, and we said, well, why don't we learn together? Why don't we explore together? And so I put myself and she put herself in the same submissive or teachable position to learn from someone else, as opposed to me trying to tell her or her trying to tell me. And so I think it's all about the delivery. And maybe if you want to be wise about it, find a video that calls you out. Find a video that puts you on Front Street so that she doesn't feel like you have an agenda. And once she resonates with what we're saying, it'll open her up to other messages that may deal with other issues.
That's a great, great, great point. I love that.
Another question: are y'all doing in personal marriage intensive still? Yes, that's where I'm at right now. We had a couple that just flew in from Texas last week. We had a couple that flew in from North Carolina. Yes, so it's full steam ahead. And if you're interested in working with us in person, just go to our website, because we unpack what happens in an in-person intensive. We have our retreat center here in Atlanta. But we're working with people in putting them in hotel suites because of COVID, of course. But yeah, we have all the precautions that are necessary to make sure that it's a safe environment so we can get to the work at hand. All right, here we go. I had an emotional affair as the offender due to my husband ignoring me. First of all, pause. Pause right there.
Uh-oh.
Pause right there. Don't attach your affair to what he wasn't doing. See, because that statement started off wrong. You had an emotional affair, period. My husband was ignoring me in the relationship. Second sentence. when you make that one sentence, it almost comes across as, well, the reason I had an affair is because of
Well, it actually
what
is.
you
It
did.
says due to.
Right,
And
right.
the big issue with that, Carlisa, for men and women is that, you could say in the relationship, or your partner could have said in the relationship, the things that you weren't doing, because none of us are getting it 100% right. So we can't make excuses for why we step out and have emotional affairs or any kind of affairs, right? Because that takes the onus off of us, as if we didn't have a decision to make, right? There's so many things in our relationships that go wrong every day. If I said you burnt the toast today, so that's the reason why I went out and had an emotional affair, stepped out on you, that wouldn't be any more justified than feeling as though your husband is ignoring you as a reason to
Yeah.
step out. It's a reason to get counseling. It's a reason to work on your marriage. It's a reason to find a way to draw closer, not to step out and have an affair.
So we love you, Carlissa. We're just
We
drawing
really
a
do.
distinction with words. But
Yeah.
you went on to say he seems to be passive, which is great. But I'm still dealing with the trigger of my own. Counseling hasn't helped me. I know it may be. It may. I'm sorry. I know it may for others. Okay, great. So the question is, what do you do?
Yeah,
Um,
and I just want to add to that, because the rest of the message, that's really poignant, the triggers that you deal with on your own. And so a lot of people don't acknowledge the triggers that are felt by the offending partner. And the truth is that you have memories, you have thoughts, you have emotional ties, physical ties. Well, yours was not a physical affair, but it was an emotional tie. So you have these emotional heartstrings that are there that you have to deal with and break, so that you can move on and draw closer to your spouse. So the reason why you didn't get the help that you needed with wherever you went is that they don't really specialize in that. They don't work on that. Most of the time, it's all about healing the hurt partner and not dealing with the offending partner, which is something that we specialize in.
Carlissa goes on to say, I am a 1 and my husband is a 9. So obviously
Ah,
they know their Enneagram numbers, and
very interesting.
it'd be interesting to know how, it'd be interesting to know if you know how a 1 shows up with a 9 in a relationship and what that dynamic is like. I think
Yeah, I do.
yeah. Well, this is your word, Daniel.
Yeah. I mean, the one person is the good person, right? They're the do-gooder in most cases. When they're healthy, they have a lot of moral standing. They like to do the right thing. They like others to do the right thing. When they're less healthy, they tend to become more of an antagonizer, pointing out everyone's wrongs when they're unhealthy. Nines tend to be resistant to change, resistant to people pushing them to make decisions. They actually have a hard time cutting people off. They have a hard time standing up for themselves because they don't recognize usually the dynamic personalities that most nines have. They're actually pretty outgoing and dynamic personality type people, but they don't see that in themselves. So they tend to play the back seat. I mean, I could see a lot of things that possibly could have resulted in Carlisa feeling ignored with a personality style 9. So these are the things that are so important for you to know how you're showing up and know your warning signs, because you can be from healthy all the way down to destructive with your personality style. And when you get down to those less resourceful levels of yourself, that's when you start to rationalize why you can do things that are just not right.
Awesome answer. Heather says, how do we do that personality test? Well, listen, starting Monday, I'm going to make sure that we have all the information posted actually on every show, because many of you are asking about intensives and you're asking about the personality test and the triggers class. And you know what? We're going to make that available to you guys in terms of how you can go about taking those or purchasing those. So thank you for
But
even
for now,
asking and
but for now,
inquiring.
you could just go to
Yeah.
couplesacademy.org and complete a form. You get a free discovery call. It's 15 to 20 minutes usually, where we'll hear what it is that is working for you and not working for you, and see if you're a good fit for our programs. So that's the fastest and easiest way right now. Just go to couplesacademy.org, complete a discovery call application, and then we'll schedule to talk to you.
Yes, LB, you two are absolutely amazing. I wish we could afford your payment plan. I would love to participate in a personal intensive. Thank you for all that you do. Just reach out to us. Um, as Danielle just said, contact us at couplesacademy.org and we can figure out how we can work with you. How do we access our styles? Once again, go to the website. But yeah, these are good questions. These are great questions.
The process to get, I mean, you can go online and take a test. There's lots of free resources out there to take tests, but they're literally only like 65% accurate. So the scary part of that is for you to take a test and think you're a type 1 when you're actually a type 7. That would be really catastrophic for you to own personality styles that aren't yours, because there are some similarities. And with your personality style, it's not what you do or what you think or believe as much as it is why. That is the key. Why you do what you do.
Mhm.
Because Hassani and I might have very similar things that we do, but we're doing it for totally different reasons. And that makes all the difference for you. That's where all the aha comes in. That's where the validation comes in for your whole life. I've always known this about me, but I never knew why. And all these things, the anxiety that you feel in certain circumstances that you actually hate and you resist, but you can't get rid of. It's all about the why. So I wouldn't want you to go and take a free test somewhere and be misdiagnosed, for lack of a better word. We do a very personal process with this Enneagram typing system where you actually are a participant in unearthing your true style, and it's super empowering. So reach out, sign up for a discovery call, and we'll get all the information that we need to get to you.
And then let me just say, I'm actually looking at my phone here, and people are actually setting up discovery calls as we speak. We're getting notifications, and we encourage you to do that because you need the help. And why sit and suffer? Why just watch a video when we can go so much deeper into what it is that you need? Listen, guys, we got 5 more minutes to go. We're going to wrap up with a few more questions, so make sure you get them in right now. Vashan, good morning. How do I get past an infidelity that happened to me in our marriage 3 years ago, and it replays every single day of my life? I love my wife, but this is one hump I'm struggling to get over. Sorry for being redundant, but the same questions I would ask, like, have you two gone to counseling? Have you done any type of individual healing work? Have you worked with anyone? I think a lot of times people just aren't willing to get the help, or some who do, possibly they're going to the wrong ones. I hear so many horror stories, Danielle, about people who have gone to counselors, right? Particularly if their insurance is covering it, and the person who's counseling them is 23 years old. They've been in the industry for 1 year. They have 3 clients, no experience, but yet on their website it lists that they specialize in 25 different things. And a lot of times people have these bad experiences and say, "Oh, counseling doesn't work. There's no point," and then they stop doing it. And I would say it's so critically important to go to the right one. If you go to your doctor and you have a severe back problem, well, your family doctor is a general practitioner. It is up to him or her to refer you to a specialist, someone who specializes in backs, because you don't want somebody who works on eyes to work on your back. Your back may see. Uh, that was a joke, but you want to go to somebody who's appropriate. And so I would encourage you to get the help that you need to get through your issues. And then there's the daily work. Like, real talk, the pain is not just going to go away. The thoughts are not just going to go away. So if you are sitting and waiting and wondering when is all this going to disappear, it's what you do. It's the effort. It's the work. Your own heavy lifting that you have to do to get out of that stuck place. Right, Danielle?
Thank you for saying that, because that's the key. We think time heals all wounds. That is a lie. Time does not heal all wounds. You have to be an active participant in the healing of your wounds. And that's the hard part, because you're starting from a very weak place, a broken place, which is drenched in a lot of hurt and pain. So you think about working out. Like, when you first start working out, that it hurts. 10 pounds, it hurts lifting over your head. You have no strength. And so that's the process that you need support and accountability to learn exactly, what do I do? How do I control my thoughts?
Yeah.
How do I stop intrusive thoughts from hindering me every morning? Every time I get a cup of coffee, I remember I have the thoughts. See, there are triggers that you've got to learn to manage so that you get a grip on them and you control it to the point where you no longer have them, or they get further and further away, right? Less frequent, and then not at all. And that's what you've got to learn.
So, guys, I hope that today was helpful for you. These are some great questions. Many of you are doing well, you're on your path, and then some of you are in pain and you're stuck in a rut. And we would encourage you to reach out so that we can see how we can be of assistance to you. Remember, we do have our, let me just put this on the screen in just a second. We do have our More Than Words communication masterclass coming up September 19th. We're going to play this out for just 20 seconds. Please get a pad and pen, write this information down.
So save the date for that, everybody, and make sure that what we're going to do is next week we're going to have a link for you to actually register for the class. But we just want to make sure you go ahead right now and put it on your calendar so that you don't get anything else scheduled to block you from being able to be during that masterclass. So that link will be available for you to register next week on Monday when we see you again.
Yes. Also, guys, really quickly before we go, many of you have been asking about the book. You can go and get the book, The Audacity of Marriage. You can get your copy on Amazon.com. It is available for you. We're probably going to do a deep dive series where we unpack every single chapter, and for you to do it with us as we're reading it together will be amazing. And listen, today is Friday. We want you to enjoy your weekend. Come back ready to go on Monday morning as we finish up our love series. We're excited about it because we've talked about what love is not. Now we're talking about what love is. And once you have that comprehensive understanding, you can begin to experience love on a higher level in your relationship. So we love you guys, and we will see you on Monday morning. Take care.
Bye.
Can't bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high, bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high, bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Clap along.